Hi and welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about what you can do when your painting goes horribly wrong. This painting went horribly wrong. I'm not happy with the sky, but I decided to plough on with the painting and I'm actually quite pleased with certain parts of it. So everyone gets those days when they can't paint, they've got great ideas, they're really inspired, they're really into getting the paints out and really going for it. But then almost as soon as the brushes hit the paper and the paint starts to flow, it all goes horribly wrong. And we look at it and we think that it's nowhere near the vision that we had in our minds of what we wanted to paint to start with, or how we even expected it to begin. And it's very easy to become discouraged. So what can you do when that happens? Well, the first thing you can do when that happens is you can give up. You can just walk away from the painting or tear it off the board, throw it away, and then go and do something else, watch Netflix or go out for a walk or whatever. So that's the first choice. Another thing that you can do is that you can sit back and you can just have a look at the painting, the part that's gone wrong, and you can sit there and you can think and you can try and sort of work out to yourself why it went wrong, whether you used too much water or whether you didn't use enough water, whether the paper was too dry at that point for what you were trying to do, or whether you hadn't sort of planned things properly and something unexpected happened because you hadn't thought things through. Maybe you were using too small a brush and ended up with some nasty marks that looked really overworked. You can think about all sorts of things like that. And so that kind of like impersonal and curious self-analysis can sometimes lead you to think, I know exactly what went wrong. I know why that didn't work. I hadn't thought it through and I used the wrong water and paint ratios for this part, which then produced this nasty overworked cauliflower, etc., etc. So that's something else you can do, is like a very positive thing to do, I think, and far preferable than the first choice. But of course, the first choice is that's a viable choice as well. If you're feeling frustrated, then it can be a good thing just to walk away and do something else. And then going back to the second choice, once you've had a really good think and tried to work out what went wrong, then you can take that knowledge and store it up or make a note about it. And the next time you paint, then you'll be able to learn from that. You'll be able to put into practice what you should or shouldn't have been doing, and, really move forward in the next painting with the knowledge of what happened in this one. And I think this is the way that with anything sort of creative, be it sort of learning a musical instrument or painting or any kind of artistic endeavour, lots and lots of practice and lots of trial and lots of error is a really important way in which we learn and which we progress. So don't be discouraged if you make a mistake. You can learn from it. And I think it's really important. If you really want to paint, then you're going to be making many, many mistakes. I mean, I've lost count of the number of dud paintings that I have. I think this is my fourth attempt today and it's gone wrong again. I really don't like the sky, but I've decided that I'm going to take my third option today. I'm not going to throw it away and walk away. I'm not going to sit back and sort of try and learn from it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to think, well, it's ruined anyway. I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to carry on. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to enjoy myself and see if I can get something from the painting experience today. Because, as I say, I've got nothing to lose. It's just a piece of paper. So I'm going to go into this dreadful sky, now it's dry, and see if I can do something about it. So today I've been trying to paint a sort of stormy sky, and I've, as I said, had 3 or 4 failures this morning that really haven't worked out. and two of them got thrown away. One I walked away from and realised that I hadn't planned it properly, which is why it wasn't working. So now this time I have decided to work through and work over my problems. So I painted a wet in wet sky, and I ended up with something that I really didn't like the look of. Now, I think of myself as a sky painter first and foremost. For me, if the sky is right, the rest of the painting will fall into place. So when my skies go wrong, I kind of lose interest really, but that's probably not the best way to be. So I've decided to have a go at going in a second time onto a dry painting. So I let my sky dry, and then I wet the top, and I'm adding more colour into it, just 3 colours: ultramarine blue, Payne's grey and burnt umber. And I'm trying to build up and improve on the top area of the sky, which is where it had all gone wrong before. So I'm working wet into wet again. This is my Escoda Ultimo size 14 synthetic mop. And I'm trying to just get some sort of a cohesive, dark, shadowy, stormy cloud across the top third of the painting, but with some areas of light as well. And I'm feeling that there's a little bit of an improvement now, so I'm happy enough now, I think, to continue with the rest of the painting. The sky's not perfect, and it really is very overworked, but I'm going to continue with it and see if I can get my very calm sea in, sort of the calm before the storm. So this is my large Pro Art Ron Ranson Harky brush. I'm getting some dry brush across the whole of the sea, and then I'll begin to bring in some breaking waves and a rocky shoreline. So this is a clean, damp 3/4 inch flat brush, and I'm lifting out some light on the sea, and then I should be putting in some darks with the Payne's grey to bring in some sort of shadows, and then start building up a few rock shapes and just get some sort of waves gently breaking against those rocks. And I think the interesting thing about thinking to yourself something like, oh, well, it's ruined anyway, so it doesn't matter, let's just carry on and see what happens. It takes the pressure off. You're not trying to do something special. You are just playing and enjoying and experimenting with the paint and the brush. And if you take the pressure off yourself, then you're more relaxed, and you're feeling less sort of fraught or intense. And somehow we often produce some of our nicest paintings or some really interesting effects when we're feeling relaxed and when we don't have that pressure on us to perform to a really high standard. And to be honest, this is what painting is all about. If you want to learn to paint, then there's going to be a lot of duds. There's going to be an awful lot of wasted paper. But as a friend of mine said, if you want to learn to paint, you have to put in the painting miles. And but it's so much fun to do that, and it can be really interesting to actually come back from the brink of a disaster. And I'm actually quite liking the way this is looking now. And of course, there are many more things that you can do if you think you've ruined your painting than those 3, but they're just 3 main things that I thought I wanted to talk about, because I think they're the most obvious choices: to either sort of throw it away, walk away, do something else, or analyse what went wrong in a positive and impersonal way and learn from it, or carry on and just see what happens and enjoy the rest of the painting and take the pressure off yourself. So I'll be really interested to know what you think and kind of the different approaches that you might have in the comments below. As I say, I go through the full range of those 3 myself. I rarely throw a painting away, to be honest. I usually keep dud paintings because they're really good to practice on. If you've got a sort of an old wash or a pile of old skies that haven't quite worked out, when you want to practice figures or trees or anything like that, you can get out the old washes, and then you can play around with them. And again, there's no pressure for practicing. You're practicing on top of a wash that's already been done. You've already discarded it because it's not a finished painting and you're not happy. So you might just as well save those up and reuse them as practice pieces for figures, buildings, and all that kind of good stuff. So I'm coming to the end of this sky practice, and I'm painting in the darks of just a few rocks across the foreground, and so I'm placing a few in and amongst the gently breaking waves. And yeah, I'm really happy with the way this has turned out, especially my breaking waves and my rocks. That for me is a real bonus from this painting. If I'd walked away and left it after that wreck of a sky, I wouldn't have been able to paint these rocks and get the light on the water, that dry brush sparkle, and contrasting against the rocks and the gently breaking waves. For me, that's the part of the painting that really works. I mean, the sky, I'm still not keen on it. I think it's really overworked. It's not the sort of thing that I like to do, but for a practice piece, it's taught me an awful lot. And I'm really glad that I decided to continue and to take the pressure off myself. So I'll just recap on my materials. Today I was using Milford 100% cotton cold pressed paper. It's 11 inches by 15 inches or 28 centimetres by 38 centimetres. It's taped to my board with ordinary decorator's masking tape, which I'm just going to remove so that I can look at it with fresh eyes with a clean white border. And my board has been at an angle of 45 degrees, although I've laid it flat to dry a couple of times. So here's the finished painting, and I think it was good practice. It was an interesting experiment because I don't usually paint into a sky a second time once it's dry. And even though I don't really like the look of this one, I can see the potential for that technique if I can just practice it and do a bit more trial and error with the technique. And as I said just now, please let me know what your approach is when you think you've ruined a painting, what you do. It'd be interesting to see the different range of things that people do in the comments below. So thank you very much for watching. Please leave us a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And thanks so much to my wonderful Patreon group who support this channel. And I'll see you again soon, and happy painting. Bye.